welcome you on into another episode of the Big Time Sports Podcast Show with Mitch Spinell alongside Mitchell Balla here to give you the latest of what's going on in the sporting world. Mitch, we're about 50 miles apart from each other this week, as if we're close to each other normally.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like, is it possible that we're closer right now than usual?
No, because Strasburg's only about half an hour from Canton, whereas Canton's about an hour from Cleveland, which is where I'm currently stationed up for a little work trip. But, enough about me. Let's get into the topics today. Let's go into what's been going on in the world of sport, starting in the high school level, because we have a number of things to talk about here. We had some good games this past week. We had a nail-biter over in our Big Time Sports game of the week in the South, where Indian Valley played Sandy Valley in boys basketball. And Sandy Valley really came out and shot very well at the beginning. Indian Valley made a couple of runs, and then they were able to get a big victory there. And then, you had the game of the North here, which we'll get to in a bit. But the big two stories that came out yesterday, actually, while I was up here, were ones that were really kind of like shaking ground in Tuscarawas County and beyond. Beyond being that the Ohio High School Athletic Association has announced that they are looking into and researching the possibility of expanding the divisions in their non-football sports here in Ohio. So for those that are listening to the podcast and don't know, the usual divisional setup for all the schools, hundreds of schools here in Ohio, we have 4 divisions in most sports, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 being the big schools to 4 being the smaller schools. Football is different. Football's got 7 divisions because there's so many football programs and so many schools here in a football-centric state that they're looking into now possibly expanding all other sports, including the likes of girls volleyball, boys and girls soccer, boys and girls basketball, softball, and baseball to make it so that Division I is not so top-heavy with some of the big schools here in Ohio. Now, it's going to be very interesting for you and I, Mitch, because your area tends to have more of the bigger schools than mine does. Based on our populations and other geographical aspects. But I do find it really interesting that the OHSAA is deciding to kind of not water down the divisions, but like try to spread out all these teams to essentially give teams more of a shot at the championships.
Yeah, first off, this came out of nowhere, really, to us as a casual person, even though we're here with Big Time Sports. I mean, this was a shock. I think there were a lot of coaches that were caught off guard by it. Now, obviously, this is not something they have to worry about being implemented this season. This is something that has to go through, I'm sure, a very, I don't know if rigorous is the right word, but due process of going through, making sure that they have everything in a line. It makes sense. I'm sure it would go to vote. But I understand why they're not going to do it to football, right? There's a lot of people, Mitch, and we had this conversation, I believe, a week ago, maybe 2, as soon as the state championships were over, of people saying, oh, well, Glenville needs to be moved up divisions, and this needs that. It's like, that's not how these divisions are worked. It's worked on enrollment, but that's neither here nor there. There are more opportunities for all these other sports and programs if this is a route they go. And I find it interesting personally, and I've never fully understood it. When you look at, I'm going to use the Federal League here. Obviously, it's the league I played in, the league I still covered the most. It's the league I live in the middle of, okay? When you look at the Federal League, 7 schools in the Federal League. Mitch, there are only 3 schools in the entire league that every single sport is a Division I sport. That is Canton-McKinley, that is Canton-Glen Oak, and that is Jackson High School. When you look at the Hoover, the Lakes, the Greens, and the Perrys, they are Division I in basketball, boys and girls, in baseball, in, I believe, cross country, in all these other sports except for football. And so for me, I've never really been able to understand how that works, even if it is off enrollment for boys and the kids on the team, how it fluctuates that way. Now, if I said, could you imagine, Massillon Perry having to play St. Ed's in the playoffs in football? Maybe a couple times they'd have a shot. But if you do this, I want to know, do these schools that are like the Lakes and Greens and Hoovers and Perrys, are they going to get moved into different divisions too? Or are they going to be these schools that stay in the same spot they're in, where hey, our teams over here are Division 1, these teams are Division 2. Are they going to fluctuate elsewhere? I'm intrigued to see how this even goes because this is so new. It was out of nowhere. How many more teams? And then, of course, Mitch, you're going to get it. And I'm sure we already have because uh, if you haven't or somebody else on our team hasn't already, there will probably be a blog written. And like always, there's a lot of interaction on all of our posts on our Facebook page of Big Time Sports Ohio. And I feel like anytime the OHSAA comes into play, monetary beliefs and relief comes into play too. And so I'm sure that there will be a big question posed by a lot of people. How much more money can the OHSAA make off a move like this? And so that is also something I'm curious to know. But as long as it doesn't water down everything else, I like it. Because why do you not want to give other teams a better even playing field? Mitch, perfect example, Richmond Heights in basketball, right? There are some schools in that Division 4 level right now that just can't hang with them because what they're doing. Not sure if you saw it. This could be breaking news. They just landed, I believe, one of the top players in the country who just transferred to Richmond Heights this week.
Sure.
So that's just another name that is going there in a Division 4 school, and then people get outraged. How are they Division 4? But as long as the product doesn't get watered down and you're allowing student athletes to have more opportunity to compete on an even playing field, which is what a lot of people always want, and it makes it a better overall experience for the casual high school sports fan, I love it. I don't see anything wrong with it. And I think as a coach at that part, I would love it too, because optimistically looking at it, you're going to have a better chance to perhaps win and go deeper in tournaments. And at the end of the day, that's what you want for your team, for your student athletes, for your school, and for your community.
Absolutely. You mentioned the Richmond Heights team, by the way. They're returning all 5 other starters from last year. They're even going to be playing games on ESPN this year, which is going to be crazy. But I did read in the OHSA's statement that the proposal does not, it's not expected to be expanding revenue of sorts. It's not going to add any tournament games to the postseason bracket. So this isn't like, oh, them trying to expand the tournament so we have more games and therefore more money. As far as we can tell, I mean, currently more than 200 schools enter the postseason tournaments in some divisions alone by themselves to compete for a state championship. It's hard to win a state championship. We don't have rings for a reason. It is hard. Depending on the school that you go to and the teammates that you have, I mean, and your performance as well. But the board of directors, who could, by the way, could vote on this as soon as possibly next month, going into the new year, could act on this very soon. I mean, it's going to be there. It says here the OHSAA has studied the number of tournament divisions and formats in other states and has found that several states, including many that have fewer schools, like smaller geographical states, have more tournament divisions than Ohio does. Other than football, the OHSAA has not expanded divisions in team sports since the 1980s when they were going the class level, Class A, AA, AAA, and everything. So yeah, I do find that very fascinating. We'll see what the OHSAA decides to go with. We could be having potentially teams winning. It's probably going to go the football setup 5, 6, and 7. That makes the most sense. Yeah. Either way, we'll see what happens. The other big news that happened in high school sports this week. This one kind of surprised me too, because I wonder if they were going to go independent for much longer. But Dover, one of the big schools in Tuscarawas County, has been invited to join the Ohio Cardinal Conference. Now, there is a board meeting set for January. I expect this to pass, but you can never tell sometimes. It looks as if the Crimson Tornadoes, after leaving the ECOL after its disbandment 2 years ago, playing as an independent this past year against a bunch of other schools, still kind of a member of that Ohio Valley Athletic Conference, Class 5A, where it just takes a whole bunch of schools from Ohio and West Virginia. But they're looking to rejoin a conference, and it's the same conference that their rival school, New Philadelphia, joined 2 years ago. They'll join 6 other teams potentially. I should have had them up here. I know that Mount Vernon is leaving the conference after 2024, and that was the thing too. The press release from the OCC said that Dover would be set to join, and I have the information here on BigTimeSportsOhio.com. Dover has been invited to join the conference starting in the 2025 season, and then the football team would join in 2026. I asked a couple sources around here about what the reason for that might be. One of them did say something along the lines of uh, what was it here? They probably already have football non-league contracts with other teams. So if they can't break those to set up like in division games, they just don't want to have to like worry about,
Yeah.
angering any of those schools who would then have to rush to find new opponents, especially in a football season where it's one game a week. So that makes sense to me now that I'm saying it. But yeah, Dover is a school that tries to pride itself on putting up the best possible opposition for themselves in order to get the most out of their athletes. And going to this Ohio Cardinal Conference is interesting because now you're playing a more regular schedule. You're obviously going to you're always going to have the rivalry in New Philadelphia, especially in football, but it's going to mean more possibly for conference championships now, and you're bolstering a conference that up until a few years ago was pretty set in their ways. This is a young conference, by the way, that was set up in 2003, and it was home to original members like Ashland, Lexington, Madison Comprehensive, Mansfield, West Holmes, and Worcester, with former schools being Orville and Clear Fork. So yeah, I'm very fascinated to see how Dover stacks up against these other schools, and you know what this might bolster the rivalry even more than it already does for the Tornadoes and the Quakers.
I think this is a very smart move. I also, like you, was wondering how long it would be before Dover found a conference. There's a school, for example, near us, that being Louisville, that is no longer in a conference. They're independent. Lots of reasons why they're independent, why they're not joining, or why the invite has never been sent out for them to join the Federal League, much like the same thing could go with Massillon. Some people, Mitch, I think, forget that the Massillon Tigers are independent as well. Yes. They are not in the league. Now, the difference is Massillon, as long as I can remember, has always been independent. Over here has only been independent for about 2 years now, I believe. So I think it makes it's they're kind of caught in that middle right now where it's a little unfamiliar territory, because you play these games matter. But at the same time, when you play games that matter in terms of standings for your league and conference to get conference titles, I think that adds more magnitude. I also think it helps prepare you more for postseason runs in all your sports. I really do. Obviously, the flexibility of being independent, you can schedule whoever you want. The flip side is most teams you're trying to schedule are not independent, and you have to work around their schedules to fit other things in, or you're having to travel a whole lot. I think this is a really good move for Dover. And the fact that rivalry will still be going on with Philly is very entertaining, because you never want to get rid of a rivalry like that. And to your point, that was also where I was going with the football. I had a feeling they probably had games scheduled already under contract with other non-league schools, that it would probably be more work to get out of those contracts than it would be just to push the football team back another year from when they're going to allow Dover to join the OC. And I'm intrigued. I mean, how, in terms of you and where you're at covering the teams in the South, how farther now are some of these other schools that are in the OCC going to be travel distance for you if you are to go cover the Dover Tornadoes?
Well, based on some of the travel experience I've had in covering New Philadelphia, like when you go out to West Holmes, it's about a 40 or so minute drive from the heart of Tuscarawas County. A lot of these teams are more towards the east, as far as I know, especially well, I mean, I believe West Holmes would be in the west in this case, because West Holmes is just near beyond Berlin. So yeah, that would be west. Yeah, it would probably be. It's a lengthier drive than a lot of IVC schools, and there was a rumor a few years ago that Dover was considering maybe joining the IVC, which would have been crazy because that's a pretty big school to be joining a lot of smaller schools in T County. Even though we've intaken teams like Indian Valley and all those places beforehand, so I don't know, that would have been interesting. And I do have this note from Dover's press release. Dover put out a press release yesterday or Tuesday or yesterday as well, and this is from their offices. The OCC, the Ohio Cardinal Conference, that name is stems from the old Cardinal Conference, which lasted from 1960 to 1987, and Dover was one of the 4 charter members of that league until its disbandment. So Full circle. Hey, Stark County, it's your friends from the local Board of Mental Health and Addiction Recovery, and we have a challenge for you. We're asking you to create a new habit and check in on someone every day. Nothing fancy, just a simple text, phone call, or note on social media to ask someone how they're doing. You don't have to be a professional, you just have to ask and then listen. Are you someone who could use a check-in? Text 4HOPE to 741-741 anytime, day or night, or dial 988. Brought to you by Stark County Mental Health and Addiction Recovery.
Wendy's without the Wendy's app is like Nugs without the sauce. Or a Frosty without the fries. Or a hamburger without the fresh beef. No! Level up. Get the app to order ahead, order delivery, earn free food, and get app-exclusive offers. One app, all the Wendy's.
Offer for a limited time at participating Wendy's. Terms apply. App registration required. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
You deserve the best. And at Ferris Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, Toyota, that's what you get. We consider you, the customer, to be part of our family. Anybody can make promises, but when you visit Ferris, you get the Ferris deal from a Ferris wheel. So if you're looking for a car, truck, or van, think Ferris.
Think Ferris. Where you matter.
You matter. Everyone plays a part. We all have a role. Each of us can make a difference. You do matter, and the best way to have a positive impact is to pay it forward. With each of us helping one another to cope, feel better, and know that we belong. Pass on the positivity today. Tell someone else they matter too. Alt Care.
Alt Care, Alt Care. Where you matter.
You invest a lot in your home and vehicle purchases. Van Nostrand Young and Associates want you to feel secure should anything happen to those investments. We partnered with providers like Grange Insurance and other industry leaders to be sure you're presented with the most complete coverage to fit your needs. Because we're not only here to protect the items you invest in, we're here to protect your future as well.
Call Van Nostrand Young Insurance in North Canton at 330-497-1867.
Ride into the future to win great prizes. Can you see into the SARTA crystal ball? Guess how we'll be innovating and adding new services to make your SARTA experience better than ever. Try your luck with the What's Next at SARTA contest at sartanext.com. One grand prize winner will win free bus rides for 6 months. Runners-up will win great SARTA merchandise like a Bluetooth speaker water bottle, backpack, and tumbler. And don't worry, they're all multiple choice questions. All part of SARTA 2.5. Happy SARTAversary.
All right, so now we go over to our professional side where, look, it's like that meme where you see the disheveled, broken human being saying to what's I think it's supposed to be God, I have taken on your toughest battles, and then you see God looking at him going, how are you still alive? That's where the Cleveland Browns are at this point in the season, where I cannot believe every day now it feels like we're at risk of a season-ending injury. There you go. There's the special meme. It's like, how is this team? How is there still a team to put together? Okoronkwo might be out for the year. Grant Delpit's at least out for the regular season. DeJuan Jones is out for the season. Deshaun Watson's out for the season. Nick Chubb's out for the season. Kevin Stefanski might be out for the season. That's not necessarily true, but it's crazy how this team is just riddled with the injury bug in a season that's been riddled with the injury bug around the league itself. I can't believe that we're at this point of the season and we're still, the fact that we're 8-5 is amazing. And we'll talk about why Kevin Stefanski should be a coach of the year candidate here coming up soon. But I cannot believe that we're at this point, and it makes these games that were initially kind of thought to be like, we got this games. They're like, hey, now this Bears team just beat Detroit. This Jets team just beat Houston. I'm a little scared now for the final 4 weeks of this season in securing a playoff spot.
Yeah, this is no longer, this is the same old Browns fans here. No, I'm genuinely worried because I don't even know if we're going to know some of the guys on the field at some points in this game on Sunday. And at this point, and Lord, I hope I'm wrong. That's me knocking on wood. But at this point, Mitch, you might as well just take a 3-player guess about who's not going to be available next week, because it seems like every single game, every week of the season, somebody else is getting hurt. Somebody else is going down. And it's not a little, oh, he stepped on someone's ankle. He tweaked it. He's just not going to practice this week. Oh, it wasn't a blindside hit where he woke up and his shoulder sore. It's, oh, torn pec. Oh, torn this, torn that. Concussion protocol. It's a bad one. So he's gone for 3 weeks. It's like, how are we 8-5? And at some point, you just feel, and I feel like you and I are there right now. You feel like at some point it's going to stop. Like it's going to crumble. Like we can't keep getting away with this. But at the same time, we've been getting away with it. Somebody's continued to step up. Now, I will tell you, I am afraid of the Bears this week. And I referenced this earlier in the week because of no Grant Delpit, because of how vital and important he has been at the line of scrimmage this year, specifically against teams with mobile quarterbacks. And now with the Bears coming in here with Justin Fields, who's been playing better as of late, who is playing with something to prove, I am worried. If Denzel Ward is back, though, I feel better because that means we will have our number 1 corner on the number 1 wide receiver. Nobody else in that Bears offense really worries me. I would trust the defensive line, even though Obo and now Maurice Hurst are both done for the year.
Sure.
Myles Garrett's still out there, as far as I know, as far as I'm concerned.
He's got to deal with injury, too.
He is. Now, the reason he's probably not out for the year is because he is superhuman as well. Fair point. The Browns, to me, and it's because we're Browns fans, have probably had the most season-ending injuries all around. I'm not going to sit here and act, though, like they're the only team that's had to deal with injuries.
No.
When the Browns played the Ravens the first time this year, I believe the Ravens were without 7 starters. But here's the difference. That was week 4. They weren't season-ending injuries. We're at the point now, Mitch, where 4-week injuries or season-ending injuries potentially, or the slimmer of hope that they could make the playoff game.
Right. Yeah, there's a sliver of hope for like guys like Grant Delpit that can make the playoff. The other ones are going to take months to recover from.
Dawad Jones, no chance. Jed Wills, no chance. Obo Okoronkwo, no chance. Maurice Hurst, no chance. Like those
Obo hasn't been confirmed though, right?
It has not been confirmed, but it looks like it's torn pec. Is what all the Twitter doctors think, and nobody's ever wrong on Twitter. However, I did think it would be fun and tell you all these quarterbacks that are starting a football game this week in the NFL.
Sure. Yeah, let's hear it. Especially the 2 tonight, man. Oh, because boy, what a greatest game.
Not only is these names surprising, more importantly, Mitch, the fantasy football playoffs start this week.
Great.
And so a lot of teams right now, my dad being one of them, man, oh man, he lost Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen. And so he is in a world of pain right now. But you mentioned tonight, we have Ethan Stick versus Aiden O'Connell. Sign me nowhere near this game. I'm not turning it on. I'm going to bed. Okay. Then, can I interest you in former Cleveland Brown, Nick Mullins?
Yes, for Minnesota, who's replacing another former Cleveland Brown and Josh Dobbs.
And who will be going up against? Jake Browning. Now, listen, maybe that doesn't tickle your fancy. How about Mitch Trubisky versus Gardner Minshew?
That I would watch for the sake of it.
Tommy DeVito. Well, now Tommy DeVito is
reigning NFC player of the week, man.
Hey, and Zach Wilson. Listen, he was the spark plug the Jets needed. Then you have Desmond Ridder and Bryce Young, who's looked anything other than the number 1 pick in the NFL draft.
I still can't believe they're playing him after getting eliminated.
I know. Drew Lock is back. He's officially starting, but very good chance as we are recording this on Thursday. Geno still's in practice. CJ Stroud still in concussion protocol, looking like it'll be Davis Mills, Bailey Zappi, and 2023 Joe Flacco.
Yeah, isn't that something?
If you would have told me before week 1, all those guys I just listed would be starting quarterback in week 14 of the NFL season, I would have said season ever. The NFL can't have a good product this year. There's no way the NFL could possibly have a good product with all those names on there. And it turns out, Mitch, instead, it's the most parity we have probably had in the NFL in quite some time.
True.
And it is a joy because a lot of those guys I mentioned, whether it's far-fetched or not, most of them have a shot at making the playoffs. Like you take Tommy DeVito, I believe they're at a 1% chance. Zach Wilson, the same thing, 1% chance. The Seahawks are still fighting for a playoff spot with Drew Lock. Davis Mills and the Texans are fighting for a playoff spot. Bailey Zappi, no. Like I said, no. Bryce Young, no. Desmond Ridder is fighting for a division title in the NFC South.
Yep.
Joe Flacco is trying to take the Browns to the playoffs. Gardner Minshew and the Colts right now are the 7th seed in the AFC playoff picture. Jake Browning and the Bengals are trying to make a late season resurgence as they go up against Nick Mullins and the Vikings, who are also trying to make the playoffs. And then Aiden O'Connell and Easton Stick, although I don't see any which way these teams can possibly make it, they both still have a chance. And that is what makes that list right there mind-boggling.
It's crazy to think that Joe Flacco in 2023 would be the best out of any of those quarterbacks that you listed, but the man has been on a roll here in the last 1.5 games, so to say. Well, we hope for him to do more of the same this week against Chicago. And it is now time for another segment of Fuel, Move, Recover, featuring Dr. Michele Iono, physical therapist and president of Advancing Athletics. Doctor, thank you so much for taking the time again this week.
Thanks, Mitch.
And, with this week comes the start of the holiday season here in Tuscarawas County and beyond. I mean, so many people are getting ready for the holiday events. I mean, not only is it enjoyable to get gifts year round, but especially at this time of year, and especially the right gifts can make a real difference in your training and your performance.
I think that, it's maybe the most adult thing ever for me is that now, like I think about, gear and my kit and new bags instead of just like video games and, Nerf guns and whatnot, So, and mostly, I was definitely like deep in my jock mode in high school and whatnot, even though I was loving that, PlayStation. But I think the difference is that now, Mitch, I understand the difference between like what good gear does, or like, you know what I mean? Some of these things that we're going to talk about, like what a difference it really does make on how you play, how you feel, how you recover, whatever. Obvious, and this is a good time now, like our segment Fuel, Move, Recover is obviously built off of our platform, Advancing Athletics platform, because, we do so many like big projects with organizations like military and schools and police and whatnot. It's like what encompasses health, wellness, thriving, performance, and it's how you fuel, how you move, and how you recover. And so thinking about that same stuff relative to gifts and athletics and performance and the topics that we cover every week, it's so much easier now to like understand, oh, that stuff is more important than the new Spider-Man game, even though the new Spider-Man game is also really cool.
With that, we want to go over some potential gift ideas you could give your student athlete or anybody else really during this holiday season. We want to go over the fueling ideas. I mean, a lot of people have to make sure they keep themselves nourished, keep themselves hydrated throughout the year. If you're going to give a gift to somebody, Doc, I mean, what are some ideas you can pop up in there?
Okay, so for each of these topics, I'll give 3, and so we'll just go from our 3 pillars. So we'll talk about nutrition related things first, and then exercise or movement related things second, and then finish with like recovery or third. Okay, so first with the fuel stuff. Just kind of like what I always say, not that I have to give the medical disclaimer because we're just talking about gear and whatnot, but just like I always say about how this is like individualized and blah, 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 all that stuff, it does apply. So if anybody has any questions or thoughts about, different products or services that we touch on versus the ones I mentioned, like, of course, reach out and we'll talk about info at the end. Well, the 3 things that I thought would be really useful to like either mention or talk about that kind of cover the wide range of options and also connect with other topics we've discussed in the past is first is like proper like sports hydration. So a lot of people choose Body Armor or Gatorade Still or whatnot, and there really are better options out there. The two most common are Liquid IV and Nuun. Nuun is Nuun. And I actually have one of my bottles here. And so to be clear, we don't have any sponsorships with any of these organizations. I mean, if they want to reach out and sponsor Big Time Sports or Advancing Athletics, then, we will be fielding their inquiries. Now, in all seriousness, these are things like this and things like Liquid IV are geared towards actual athletes. Gatorade and Body Armor and Powerade are more geared towards taste. We've talked about this in past episodes. Folks that haven't heard that can catch up. But what's nice about these is that you can keep a bunch of them right in your bag with your kit, and then all you need is your water bottle. Most athletes now carry around a water bottle of some kind, and so what it is that each container has 10 tablets, almost like Alka-Seltzer or whatever, and pop one of those in your drink, and then you have your hydration. The cool part is that you've got 10 of these. This is like carrying 10 bottles of Gatorade with you, and you can get a pack on Amazon for like $25, where you can have 40. I think it's like 40 for $25. So I mean, you can't buy that many. It's like 35 cents a Gatorade. Which it'd be really, really hard to get that. At the gas station or whatnot. And so it's just thinking about the benefits of nutrition or whatever it is that we're talking about, and then what's the best way to get it or a better way to get it, let's say. The next thing that I want to talk about is meal service plans. So not everybody likes to cook. Not every athlete has parents who are good at cooking or, are even like eat healthily. The place that we kind of come from, the Midwest is oftentimes, a lot of really dense, hearty food, and not everybody eats as healthy as they should anyways. And so many families have, like, let's say one athlete in the family or one serious athlete. Well, for some of them, I've recommended, you could get a subscription to like HelloFresh or Blue Apron. That's the meal prepared things. So the one kid who needs a certain amount of nutrition or more meals, mom and dad don't cook, mom and dad aren't good at cooking, mom and dad don't like to cook, but they can afford $20 to $50 a month, in meals. Well, all of a sudden that one athlete really gets their proper nutrition. So that can be a good idea. And then depending on familiarity or whatnot, you could learn how to make the meals yourself, or, maybe let's say that you're a really serious basketball player, since we're in the winter sports. Well, now all of a sudden during the winter, during the regular season, maybe you get your Blue Aprons subscription. So to make sure that, you're eating really healthy and plenty. And then, you can cancel it when the spring comes. The final new fuel related gift idea is like a coffee gift card. As we've talked about in the past, energy drinks are terrible for you. Now, I still will have a Red Bull from time to time, or, or whatever. So, I mean, a little dab will do you. It's not going to kill you. But the problem is that if you're having these all the time, and so coffee is a much healthier thing. What makes coffee not healthy is when you add tons of sugar in it and like sweeteners and stuff like that. So of course we want you to minimize that, but in general, coffee or tea is much healthier than energy drinks. And so, getting your athlete or asking, yourself like a gift card to, one of the local cafes or Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or whatnot, will allow you to be able to, make sure you're getting enough energy and you're accomplishing everything from school and working and training and competing, while also making healthier energy choices.
So we go from fuel over to move, and move is definitely for me the most interesting one because of the season you're going into, when it starts to get colder, when it starts to become less welcoming outside. I mean, you want to, there are options to be able to move around indoors, don't get me wrong, but especially if you want to get into those elements in the outdoors, I mean, what can people really focus in on if they want to get their student athlete a gift?
The cold sucks. It just sucks. We're not Canadians. We don't live in Alaska. We don't live so far north to where like you just have to accept that like being cold is a way of life. So for us, we've got like maybe 2 or 3 months of cold weather, and then you can kind of move on from it and almost forget about it till next year. And so whether it's your training, whether it's not just, Mitch, that like, oh, we're doing stuff inside. It's like, do I really want to leave the house? Am I really going to go home? And then, as we talked about, was that last week? Yeah, that was last week. You get done training, whether it's at the gym or practice, and then you head home. Well, if you don't have a proper kit, well, you are increasing your risk of getting sick. So it's not even just simply like, get a nice stuff so you can go outside and play. It's also like, let's make sure you're taken care of fully. And then you get nice stuff. It washes better and it feels better. It fits better. It looks better. It's all those things that kind of add up to it. So jackets or tights / leggings, socks and sweatshirts. So those are the 3 things. So the first, proper jacket. So there's so many different brands that you can buy. My preferred one is LL Bean, but Columbia, Patagonia, REI, Dick's Sporting Goods brand sells some nice stuff. There's another major one that I'm forgetting, North Face.
Yes.
So North Face, and there's plenty of other companies, even like Carhartt and stuff like that make these nice jackets that are lightweight, they're warm, and they do all the jobs you need them to do. Getting something to where like I can throw this on and I'm impervious to the cold makes such a difference. And then instead what happens is that like, you have to put like 12 different sweatshirts on before you can even walk outside. And then as soon as you walk indoors, you're literally sweating your butt off, like we talked about last week, instead of like you have one nice warm coat, and just like, the 2 coats that I have, the 2 winter coats that I have, I don't even have to wear a t-shirt on under. That'd be funny, walking around with chest hair, with no t-shirt on underneath. No, all I have to wear is a t-shirt on underneath my jacket. Trust me, if any of our viewers or listeners see me out in the community in one of my nice coats, trust that I do have a shirt on underneath. Okay. So the thing that I want you to also think about is like a pair of leggings or tights or joggers that have some insulation in them. Again, it's just, I can go from home to practice to home, train outside, especially as the weather like starts to turn, like in the fall. Like we're still kind of there. Next month is where it's really going to start getting cold. And then obviously coming out of it, like in March and whatnot. Things that were like, okay, I'm going to throw this on. It's going to not impact my training or my decision making. The next thing is socks. So socks are the most underrated thing that you can possibly wear or utilize. And having nice socks makes such a big difference. So I have so many athletes that come in and they have holes in their socks and stuff like that. Not only do you not get the warmth from it, but also they just look ratty and stuff. And there's actually a few companies that actually make socks and have lifetime guarantees. So my personal favorite brand is one that's called Darn Tough. And so they come in all different colors. They're not just old man socks or whatever. And they're all made in America, which is important to some of us. And the nice part is that as soon as you get holes in them or they get the threads or whatnot start coming loose, all you have to do is ship them back to the store, and then they will give you a code to get you a new pair. And so as soon as you buy one of these pairs, you have a pair for life. And so what we do is, I discovered them when I was living out near Vermont, and then and that's where they're made. I forget if I said that or not. And so what we do is that we will wait, me and my siblings and my dad and mom will wait until we have, like maybe 5 or 6 or 10 pair that have holes in them. And then we will ship them all back, and then they'll give us a code, and then we'll go out and pick, okay, Mitch got 2 pairs, Michele got 3 pairs, mom got, 4 pairs, whatever. And so then we each go pick out our own socks, and then they ship them back, and free shipping because we order so many at the same time. And so I'm not afraid to wear my quote unquote nice socks. It's like sometimes you wear like the ones that just barely have a hole in them, and other times you'll wear the ones that are actually nice. Well, now I just wear my nice ones all the time, because as soon as they get holes in them, I'm going to send them back. They are like between $15 and $30 a pair, which again is a lot of money for one pair of freaking socks. But A, they're made in America. B, lifetime guarantee. So where they get you is A, they have people like me, like just promoting them, telling everybody I can, because they're such great socks. That's how they make money. And the other reason is that as I wear out the holes in mine and I send them back, or I'm holding them to eventually send them back, well, then I need something else to wear. So I buy more pairs. So then I have like a rotation. So I'm never out of socks. And now, like, these are the only ones I wear now, because all the other brands, Mitch, as soon as I get holes in them, you got to throw them out. So I don't have to wear holes with socks anymore. And that is one of the biggest game changers. Keeping your neck warm and keeping your feet warm is one of the nicest things that you could possibly do in order to, feel good and keep training and whatnot. And Darn Tough is not the only brand that does it. Another common brand is Feetures, Feetures. And they also do that. They send them back too. But I'm a one brand kind of guy. So Darn Tough is the one I'm sticking with. The final thing is, as I alluded to a second ago, keeping your neck warm is a good sweatshirt. And that's, you might notice, the viewers might notice I have my Advancing Athletic shirt on underneath, and I wore this in order to show. Not only does it have, it's a running sweatshirt, not only does it have, the thumb holes, as so many do, it's got a reflective marker on the sleeve out here, the hood, as most, and then my favorite part, Mitch, is it has a face mask. So when I'm going outside and it's like really cold, I could put that face mask up, and then, breathing your hot breath into that face mask warms you up so much better, especially when the wind's blowing. Like last week, I wore this thing almost exclusively because, oh my gosh, it makes such a difference. And then when you pull it down, it kind of bundles at your neck. So it's not real restrictive, but it stops the air from getting to your neck. And that's the other thing too, again, because all that, if your neck starts getting cold, then all of a sudden your body's having to work harder, because that's where you lose most of your heat is, as I said, your feet and your neck. And especially for somebody like me who shaves their head, I especially don't have any hair. And so, like you have that nice head of lettuce that helps keep heat in. I don't have that. So keeping my neck warm is especially important. And there's a few different brands that make these, and I actually just ordered another one from Under Armour, and and then a cheap alternative to this, Mitch, because there's not a bunch of brands that make this, is you can buy one of the Dickies. We were wearing those like during the pandemic. Yeah. So that's the other thing too you can do is then you just wear that around your neck, and you'll see football players like that, like pull it up, like that and whatnot. What was crazy was that during the Browns game, a couple of the LA Rams players were wearing the whole head, thing up and then over their mouth. It's like, you guys are in LA and SoFi is indoor.
Yeah.
Like the game wasn't in Cleveland.
Yeah, I think they do a lot of that to maintain a veil of privacy when they're doing their workouts for sure.
Yeah.
So we go from pre-gaming, or you go from the pre-workout stuff with fueling, the workout stuff with moving, and then the post-workout stuff with recovery is a big one too, because once you get done with that workout, you want to adjust from the cold weather potentially to getting yourself settled in temperature, getting yourself settled in, your rest. I mean, what are some big things that people can give to their student athletes to ensure quality recovery?
Okay, so we'll go by quick with these. And the way that we define recovery in our system is really it's stress management, mental and physical. And so the two things for physical stress management or recovery, a foam roller and a percussion gun. Part of the reason why we're going to go by more quickly with these things is that we've talked a lot about this stuff already. So foam roller, you can buy a really cheap one. The only thing that I would say is don't buy the one with the nubs on it or that's hollow. Those things are very, very rigid. So they are not comfy at all to use. But if you buy one that's squishy, you shouldn't be able to like squeeze it and leave your fingerprints in it. That's too much the other way. The Goldilocks zone is the firm ones that you can kind of hit and they kind of make a sound. And then there's almost no give to them whenever you squeeze them. You can buy those on Amazon for like $20, a 3-footer. If you have a couple kids, you can cut it in half and all of a sudden they each have their own one. Cutting a 3-footer in half, 18 inches is also a much more compact size that you can take with you and whatnot. Next is and so that is plenty, absolutely plenty. You do not need a percussion gun. So mom and dad, if you're listening to this, I did not tell your athletes, your kiddos to, have you buy them a $400, Theragun. But if you're looking to add something else to your arsenal, you already use your foam roller and you want some more targeted recovery, then a percussion gun can be a great option. They do make cheaper ones, for like as much as $50. And then, like I said, like really nice ones by Theragun and Volt and some other brands that can be multiple hundreds of dollars. Generally speaking, with Theraguns or percussion guns, massage guns, people call them, they're hitting you. We've talked about this before also, but so they're tapping on you in a really fast way. So typically those are, that's percussion. So that's the actual name for it. The more settings, the better for those. So there should be the stroke. So how far it moves, the obviously the frequency, how fast it moves, multiple heads, shapes, like a battery life. These are all things that you're going to get more benefit from if you can find a model that you can afford that has those options in them, because they work for different muscle groups and different intensities. If you're like sore from a game versus sore from lifting versus sore from practice versus sore from an injury, so on and so forth. And then the final thing, which might seem counterintuitive, but noise canceling headphones or earbuds. So rest is very important for athletes. Being able to lay down, take a nap, or not even sleep, but just like get some quiet time is super valuable. So being able to put your earbuds in and then be able to just like, go to noise canceling mode and then be able to rest, and then have a lot of the outside ambient noise kind of canceled makes such a big difference. I do that when I meditate because, again, it allows me to really focus on my meditation rather than being distracted by the outside world. A lot of people like to train in them. I don't like that because it's almost like swimming. It's almost like you're like underwater and you lose your ability to perceive what your body is doing. The way you breathe, your brain perceives that when you hear your own breathing, when you hear your own footfall. Like all these things are really useful and really valuable feedback. And we don't play with earbuds in. So learn how to do it, practice the way you play. So learn how to do it learn how to practice or train without your noise canceling earbuds. It's okay to have that. I do that too. I just have them on my Beats on transparency mode. So that's the other thing is that, again, it's like I have an hour before practice. I'm caught up on homework. I need to take a nap really quick. Everybody's home from school. Everybody's making a bunch of noise. Maybe you even share a bedroom, with a sibling. Okay, I'm going to put my earbuds in, put on noise canceling mode, and then I actually can get some peace and quiet and get some rest so that I'm ready to really go and perform at my best for the next workout. And again, unlike caffeine, which we talked about in the fuel ideas, your noise canceling headphones, if you take a nice nap that's not too long, it's not going to impact your sleep. Whereas if you have an energy drink, you have too much caffeine from coffee or tea, that will have a negative impact on your recovery later down the road. So learning how to use all the tools available to you to feel your best and perform your best is what we're trying to help you guys learn about.
And with that, Doc, I mean, with all the gifts gift ideas we went over, some people may be wanting to add to that. They maybe want to provide their student athlete, maybe a training package or an assessment over at Advancing Athletics. Where would they be able to find such a potential gift for the holiday season?
Or if you want to send Mitch and I gifts for all this amazing content we provide you, it's we'll send our addresses in that email. You can reach out to me at recover@advancingathletics.com. And then as usual, Twitter and Instagram at Michele Iono, MICHELE IONNO, and Facebook and Instagram is where we post stuff for the company, Advancing Athletics.
And with that is another segment of Fuel, Move, Recover featuring Dr. Michele Iono. Doc, thank you so much for joining us again this week.
Thanks, Mitch. Happy holidays.
Vive Auto Sales, located on West High Avenue in New Philadelphia and Cleveland Avenue in Canton, is a used car dealership committed to getting financing for everyone. We give every customer that walks in our showrooms a prime buying experience, no matter their credit score or financial situation. Current inventory can be viewed at www.wefinancenow.com. Check out our Facebook pages for the most up-to-date information about upcoming events and promotions happening at Vive Auto Sales.
Are you trying to increase your speed, quickness, vertical leap, and agility? If so, NST Sports Performance is for you. NST trains athletes ages 5 through pro. NST designs each program specific to the athlete's needs, goals, and sports. For more, visit nstsports.com. Locations in North Canton and New Philadelphia. It's nstsports.com.
If you're looking for a new or pre-owned car or truck, why not see the Parkway Auto Group? Parkway is a special group of automotive experts with 8 brands to satisfy your needs. Come see the difference at the Parkway Auto Group on Commercial Parkway in Dover. 8 brands and 1 family. It's Parkway Auto Group.
The Furby Electric Supply Company has bright ideas for your home. Save money by converting to energy-efficient electrical products or add ambiance with beautiful lighting features. It begins with a professional consultation and a visit to the Furby Lighting Showroom. Then certified Furby contractors complete your project right and on time. Since 1934, 4 generations have built a reputation of quality and trust, and they offer emergency services too. Just visit Furby.com. That's F-U-R-B-A-Y. The Furby Electric Supply Company.
It takes a lot of practice to have a winning team. Albin Title has over 100 years of combined experience handling real estate, title, and escrow transactions. They serve Tuscarawas, Stark, Carroll, Harrison counties, and more. So choose Albin Title for your next home refinance, sale, or purchase. They'll get it done quickly and professionally. Contact Albin Title at 330-334-5800 or visit their website albintitle.com. Let them put their experience to work for you.
We all have 206 things in common. Our bones keep us up and moving. And we at Cleveland Clinic Union Hospital care about every single one of them. From the tip of your finger to a brand new hip, our orthopedic experts will keep you going while keeping you safe. For every break and breakthrough, for every bone and joint, for every care in the world. Get the care you need when and where you need it. Visit unionhospital.org.
Fall is in the air and part-time career enhancement courses at Buckeye Career Center are on the horizon. Registration is now open for Introduction to Beekeeping, Basic Small Engine Repair, and Sign Language. These part-time offerings run on Tuesday evenings and begin in November. Let Buckeye Career Center help you learn a new skill or advance your current skill set. Call 330-339-2288 for more information or to reserve your seat in one of these or our other part-time classes.
Have you checked in on someone yet today? This is your reminder. A simple text, call, or message. You don't have to be a professional to check in. You just have to ask and listen. Are you someone who could use a check-in? Dial 988 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A message from Stark County Mental Health and Addiction Recovery. But yeah, I think I'm going to hold off on one topic for next week just because I want to see the result of this game. But I wanted to also talk about
We should do it.
Okay, we can talk about it.
We need to fire them up, Mitch. That's what think about it. We haven't had this long conversation about this team, and they've just been. And I feel like now's the time, and we can fire them up, and they come out tonight and they win.
I feel like that's what I was going to get into, is that this whole thing with the Cavaliers. This team has been, I guess you could say, disappointing so far this year because they're hovering around 500 as we're nearing Christmas, which we were hoping like, okay, they got off to a slow start. Let's see where they go from here. And it just hasn't been the case. You can say injuries. You can say referees not doing their job. You can say foul calls. You can say all that. The team is still 13-11 regardless. And they go against the Celtics again tonight, which is this dumb home and home series that they have to go through again.
I hate this. By the way.
I mean, you could say, oh, you only hate it because it's not at your place. No, I think it's dumb for one team to stay in a city for 3 days to play back-to-back games against the same team, but it doesn't matter.
In a city like Boston too, like come on, if it was like Vegas or something or LA or Miami, yeah, it'd be really cool. But Boston, there's nothing to do there.
I went to Boston a few years ago. It's a nice
a bunch
little
of
town.
rude people, spoiled sports fans. They think that the world's stacked against them anytime their team doesn't do well. So you know what? It's
spoiled with that 3-10 record they have right now, but we're not going to get into that. But yeah, the Cavs have been kind of disappointing. I mean, we know what they need to do tonight against Boston. They need to be able to stack up shooting wise. They had a great shooting night the other game, but it just kind of fell apart for them at the end. Defense has got to stand up better. The big men have got to stand up better. And then you hear stuff like these Doc Rivers comments that I heard on the Bill Simmons podcast the other day, how the team's just still kind of getting bullied. They're still not quite in sync. Is this a fixable just kink in the machine, or do you think we just need to, like, at what point do you start to panic, like, oh, this team isn't going to reach what it did last year, and which we need to expand upon?
I'm going to panic like I referenced a show or two ago. I know we don't have LeBron James, but I will start to panic after the month of January because, as we know, when he was here, nothing really mattered. We have Donovan Mitchell. We have what I will say is a top 10 player. And then if top 10 is too much, then we'll say top 15. If you don't agree with that, well, you're wrong. A lot of the flack right now, Mitch, if you go on social media, if you go on blogs, if you go on websites or articles, whatever it is all pointed at one person. But what you just told me is that we're still getting bullied. The same team that got embarrassed by the New York Knicks last year is still getting bullied. And we thought, you know what, as disappointing as it was to the Knicks, maybe it was a good thing. This is a young team that needed a wake-up call. Everybody included needed a wake-up call. It didn't excuse Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland. Every person on that entire roster needed a wake-up call. JB Bickerstaff cannot make Jared Allen more aggressive. JB Bickerstaff cannot make Evan Mobley more aggressive. They can also not get bigger, faster, stronger. You can tell them to, but guess what happens if they don't? That is why, and you have to follow me here.
Okay.
The Miami Heat are so damn good year in and year out. They have certain metrics that they put on their players every year in terms of body fat percentage, in terms of weight, and everything like that. Now, look, the Cavs could have that, but we never hear that, okay? I find it interesting that you always hear about Miami Heat players. JB Bickerstaff cannot make Jared Allen more aggressive. You know what can make Jared Allen more aggressive, Mitch? Putting his name out there on the trade block. Putting Evan Mobley up for possibly, we might not extend him if he doesn't perform better. Give these guys a wake-up call, because all Evan Mobley for 2 years has been, Well, first off, he was snubbed to Rookie of the Year. He's this great rookie, Kevin Garnett-like. He can score. He can do this. I think he's regressed. I have not seen anything this year that shows me that Evan Mobley got better in the offseason. Have you? Anybody that thinks they have, I don't think he has.
Says he gained muscle. You haven't really seen it as much. You think you improve on the 3-point shooting. It's not quite there yet. Yeah.
Well, whatever Zeller brother we had, he gained muscle too, eating a dozen donuts a day, and then he still got bullied the next year when we sucked. So you don't have to like JB Bickerstaff. And I'm not here to say that I think he's a great coach, okay? But I am telling you, at this point in the season, if you blow it up, you are really decreasing your chance, I believe, at having any shot to keep Donovan Mitchell. Because then you're going to have to institute somebody else in the middle of the season. And odds are, it could happen, but that guy will not be your head coach the next season. And is Donovan Mitchell going to really want to go through that? Now, maybe you go get the guy he wants. I don't know. This is also a team that had the number 1 defense in the league last year.
Mm-hmm.
Where are they now? Because that defense isn't. And so, Mitch, I told you before the show I wanted to bring up a point somebody made to me the other night. The Cavs got off to a phenomenal start in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a team, by the way, folks, that is undefeated at home. They are the, fact check, yes, correct, only undefeated team at home in the NBA. They're 11-0. The Cavaliers got off to a brilliant start. They were shooting the lights out at the Garden. They were defending. Then the Cavs went to his own defense, which really triggered a friend of mine. The Cavaliers were without Evan Mobley.
Mm-hmm.
They were on their second night of a back-to-back after they just played the number 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, the Orlando Magic. They had to go to zone because they were down players. Their legs were tired. Okay. And he's like, well, JB needs fired now because the Celtics got back in the game. You're also insane if you didn't think the Celtics were going to make a run at some point. This is the top team in the Eastern Conference right now. People are looking way too into some of the small details. It's basketball. There are teams out there right now that are very severely underperforming. We're not even the worst underperforming team in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion. It's the Atlanta Hawks, who, if the playoffs started today, wouldn't even make the play-in game.
Right.
Okay. There are plenty of other teams. May I interest you in the Golden State Warriors, who would make the play-in games right now? It is still so early, people. There's a lot of people, myself included, that think that the true NBA season should not tip off till Christmas. I also think that I'm not going to get worried till mid-January because I've seen it before. You've seen teams do it before. I'm not here for the fire JB Bickerstaff stuff. Fire JB Bickerstaff stuff now. That's a tongue twister. But if they don't get better by mid-January, I would expect to see a move made. More importantly, if this team continues to regress, I would expect it to be JB gone. If this is a team that's just floating around 500 a few games before, I would tell you I would expect one of the starting 5 to be traded. And it probably wouldn't be Max Strus after the deal we got him for. So I would tell you it's probably either Donovan Mitchell, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, or Darius Garland. Something will have to change because you have to do one of 2 options, Mitch. You have to keep Donovan Mitchell happy, or you have to get what you can in return for him.
No, that makes sense. And I still think they'd get a good return for him. I mean, one thing I'm noticing about this team is that they kind of had an emphasis at the beginning of the year of like making sure they could sink more 3-pointers, be more lethal from the 3-point range. And right now, as far as my numbers go, they're in the bottom half of like 3-point attempts per game. I don't know if, and with the conversation of them being like, oh, all these games where the free throws are so like distant from each other, like the game in Boston the other night. Cavs were like 8 of 9 from the free throw line. Celtics had at least 20 some free throws. Similar thing happened in the first half of the Orlando game. I was there. I'm starting to wonder, and people are saying like, oh, well, it's the refs. I'm starting to wonder if it's the Cavs' emphasis on this 3-point shooting that's not allowing them to get into the paint against other teams. Now, granted, you could say against Orlando, that was good for them because Orlando, on average, I believe is arguably the tallest starting 5 in the league. But like, we don't have a lot. I mean, we have guys like Mitchell who go inside like guns blazing, trying to go up for the layup. But I don't know if this is a team that's drawing enough fouls to get to the free throw line consistently with guys that we know can make free throws for the most part, aside from Tristan Thompson, and occasionally Jared Allen.
Yeah, I feel like even less this year, and it could be something as simple as teams are just defending it better. But think about every game you watched last year. Darius Garland, pick up at the top, drives down the lane. Guess what? He's floating it up one side of the basket for either Jared Allen or Evan Mobley to come in and slam it home. You haven't seen that a whole lot this year. I also feel like, and there was the article out today, that the Cavs want Darius Garland to go downhill more. Is that why we're not getting more fouls? Has he taken a step back? Is he saying, hey, I'm going to be more of the facilitator on the outside, let Mitchell get going? I don't know. I'm kind of asking myself this right now. Am I crazy for thinking that just some of the guys that we didn't bring back, like Lamar Stevens and Jetty Osman, they're not – let me preface this by saying
I understand what you mean.
And Yang are better players, but those dudes brought it. They were energy guys. They may not always look pretty. You may have gotten extremely frustrated with some of them, specifically Jetty on some nights, but Mitch, they were junkyard dogs. And I just don't see that this year. And that's what they kind of missed last year, I felt like. And I don't know if they expected Evan Mobley to take that step and be that guy. If Niang, who I do think has a fiery personality at times, you saw it in Philly. I don't know. I mean, Isaac Okoro as well, though.
I think Isaac, Isaac can be a good defender. He could be that guy if he just got his offensive game up enough to be consistently in the rotation.
How many years have we said that, though? Like, when is enough going to be enough? At what point, when is enough going to be enough? He's not showing you any improvement on the offensive side of the glass. Oh, okay. Sorry. He might be averaging 1.1 points per game more this year. He's averaging 6.3. That's a first-round pick. And he's also an undersized 3. What you're asking him to do defensively. I just don't know how much longer they can allow something like that, a roster spot to potentially where you can go make a good addition, to be taken up by somebody. I'm not panicking yet. There is concern, but at the same time, there's still plenty of time for them to right this ship. They're still 13-11. They're still in the play-in tournament as it stands right now, and they have Boston tonight. They could easily – it's a team last year that took it to Boston in their home court. There's a team that won, was it the first 3 games of the season series? The Cavaliers could very well go into Boston night, even though they're already there, and beat the Celtics.
Have you checked in on someone yet today? This is your reminder. A simple text, call, or message. You don't have to be a professional to check in. You just have to ask and listen. Are you someone who could use a check-in? Dial 988 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A message from Stark County Mental Health and Addiction Recovery.
Wendy's without the Wendy's app is like Nugs without the sauce. Or a Frosty without the fries. Or a hamburger without the fresh beef. No! Level low. Get the app to order ahead, order delivery, earn free food, and get app-exclusive offers. One app, all the Wendy's.
Offer for a limited time at participating Wendy's. Terms apply. App registration required. Fresh beef available in the contiguous U.S., Alaska, and Canada.
You deserve the best. And at Ferris Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, Toyota, that's what you get. We consider you, the customer, to be part of our family. Anybody can make promises, but when you visit Ferris, you get the Ferris deal from a Ferris wheel. So if you're looking for a car, truck, or van, think Ferris.
Think Ferris. Where you matter.
You matter. Everyone plays a part. We all have a role. Each of us can make a difference. You do matter, and the best way to have a positive impact is to pay it forward. With each of us helping one another to cope, feel better, and know that we belong. Pass on the positivity today. Tell someone else they matter too. Alt Care.
Alt Care, Alt Care. Where you matter.
You invest a lot in your home and vehicle purchases. Van Nostrand Young and Associates want you to feel secure should anything happen to those investments. We partnered with providers like Grange Insurance and other industry leaders to be sure you're presented with the most complete coverage to fit your needs. Because we're not only here to protect the items you invest in, we're here to protect your future as well.
Call Van Nostrand Young Insurance in North Canton at 330-497-1867.
Ride into the future to win great prizes. Can you see into the SARTA crystal ball? Guess how we'll be innovating and adding new services to make your SARTA experience better than ever. Try your luck with the What's Next at SARTA contest at sartanext.com. One grand prize winner will win free bus rides for 6 months. Runners-up will win great SARTA merchandise like a Bluetooth speaker water bottle, backpack, and tumbler. And don't worry, they're all multiple choice questions. All part of SARTA 25. Happy SARTAversary.
Like the Celtics are the best record in the Eastern Conference right now. They don't. None of these teams scare me like in years past. Am I crazy? Like, yeah, they have Jason Tatum. He's great. Jaylen Brown is very, very good. I tend to think he's one of the more streakier players in the NBA. The Bucks, obviously, Giannis is phenomenal. But have you realized we haven't been talking about Dame Lillard a whole lot since he got there? He's not been this as much as I felt. Philly, Joel Embiid's having a better season than his MVP season. And that's probably because I got rid of James Harden. But, like, these teams top to bottom don't scare me like they used to in the Eastern Conference. And that's why I'm not worried, I think. I really think that's what it is, if I'm being honest. The Magic don't scare me as a 3 seed right now. They don't. The Pacers don't scare me right now. I think you saw a bunch of young teams with guys that aren't paid a lot buy in for the in-season tournament, and they've realized they have something. Now they have to keep it up for the rest of the year, which I'm not sure they can do.
Well, you talk about Lillard; he's still averaging 24, 4.5, 7 on his stat line. So that's he doesn't play as many minutes. He's not playing averaging as many minutes. But Giannis, it's still Giannis's team.
I feel like when he was in Portland, which is wild because he's West Coast, we hardly hear about him over here. I felt like we still heard about him more
because he was the guy. He was the guy.
He was the guy.
And it shows how bad Portland was that now that he's gone, they're terrible.
They are, for reference, they're 6-16, which
it's not good. There's a lot of bottom. It's very bottom heavy right now. Do you know that we have 2 teams right now with over 18 game losing streaks in the NBA at this point? The Spurs, which I get that just because Wembanyama got there, it wasn't going to be like, oh, he's going to turn around the team completely. But man, they're bad. And then you got the Pistons, which, that's woof. Oof.
Mitch, did you see the graphic?
Wingstop. We all know. We're all aware of this, the Wingstop thing. That's why they moved it, because people started making jokes about Wingstop. A Wingstop starting 5 could beat the Pistons at this rate.
Well, we are on record watch, though. We like to talk about things. We are on record watch. The Detroit Pistons are within striking distance of a record held by our Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yes. The longest.
A record I would love to get off our books.
26 games?
26 game losing streak.
Is that in season, by the way, or is that in the course of 2 seasons? Because I thought there was
that is in season. The second longest, I believe, was the Sixers. That was to end a season and then start a season.
Okay. Oh, that was that. Yeah, that was what, 10 years? Wow. Okay. Yeah. And then the Wizards are all awful too. So yeah.
Yeah, it's there are teams with solid records. There's no doubt. I mean, Minnesota, to me, I feel like still is getting no respect. The Thunder, I think you're starting to see the emergence, perhaps the next. I don't want to say powerhouse, but I don't want to say big 3. But just the next team all those picks. But after that, there's really nobody that shocks you. Boston, Milwaukee at the top of the East doesn't shock me. Dallas, Denver, and the Lakers and the Kings, like those.
Denver and the Lakers are on autopilot. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's where you expect them to be. The teams that you're shocked about in the West, the Clippers, which is that the James Harden effect? Who knows? The Suns, which they got Bradley Beal in the offseason, and then the Golden State Warriors, which now are going to be in a world of hurt.
Rockets are 12-9. I'm a little surprised by that.
I mean, I didn't expect them to be good this year.
That's what I'm saying is that they're actually kind of good. They're great at home. I don't know what they have an 11-1 record at home.
Yeah,
they're 1-8 on the road. I don't know what's going on there, but I mean, just because you got the guy who was in the finals a few 2 years ago, Udoka. I mean, he can coach these guys, and they got some top 5 picks in there that can that can grow. All right. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching to the Big Time Sports Podcast Show. Be sure to check out BigTimeSportsOhio.com for all of our latest articles, game broadcasts, and posts and everything. Yeah, Big Time Sports Ohio on Facebook, at BTS Ohio on Twitter or X, and then at Mitch Spinell and at Mitchell Balla pretty much everywhere else. Mitch, what's the fact of the day?
I'm pulling it up right now because I had it saved. I was going to ask you a question.
This is preparation. Go ahead with the question though.
Can you tell me? I was reading something the other day, Mitch, and I find it very fascinating. I love sports trivia. Okay, I watched
I do too.
a trivia show times a week on YouTube called The Dozen. Not a sponsor, but I would highly recommend watching it because it's entertaining. They were asking for the last quarterback to throw for over 350 plus passing yards for every team in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. For every team.
Can you name me the last quarterback to throw for 350 plus passing yards for the Browns?
Okay. Oh gosh. Has to be a game where someone threw like 400 some yards in a game. It has to be pre 1999. I don't know if Bernie ever did that. I don't even know if Brian Sipe did that. You know what? I'm gonna say because it was a high scoring game back in 2000. I'm gonna say Derek Anderson.
Nope.
No. All right. Who was it?
Ride with 6, baby. Baker Mayfield.
Well, thank you for listening and watching to the Big Time Sports Podcast Show.